In all honesty, as a man, you can't really feel a way about picking a 304 because, in all honesty, that's what is mostly available to us, right? Not to say all women, but the overwhelming majority of women have the potential to be a 304. Meeting the right dude will just unlock the 304 in her.
At what point are we going to start connecting the fact that some women solely just stick with their little head too? Because I think that that's missing here, right? Like, yes, I get the whole thing, but I don't think that y'all give enough onus to some women. Don't They don't consider sex in the same way that there's an attachment here. Some women can just do it and get up, and they can do it being a regular operating human in society, not necessarily saying that she's a stripper or a prostitute. No, she's a regular woman who go do her 9 to 5, and she come off as real nice and dainty, but she don't think about sex the way that you think she should think about sex. She just want to get her rocks off and go on.
Oh yeah, that's understood, but that would still make her a 304 though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of times we trying to put these things onto it, and you calling her a hoe, but you vindicating it for you on your end as a man, while women are a reflection of men. So it's like you can't be conditionally accepting of it and trying to make her feel bad about it, but you won't feel bad about it. But you chose her. You don't want to feel bad about what you're doing, but you're choosing her. She's a reflection of
Yeah,
it. Is
but
it not?
it's slim pickings. If it's slim
It should
pickings out here, right? And odds are that that's what you're gonna run into, right? If you're saying like 80% of women is that's what it is, you're probably gonna run into that. It's not like they reveal themselves. It's not on their foreheads. It's not like they're gonna announce it. They're all gonna hide it and be conniving. We understand how persuasive, right, and convincing women could be, right? They're gonna hide it. So it's no big deal. If you find out late, you're like, damn, I took an L. Okay, next one. But you can't be mad at yourself because you didn't have the spirit of discernment, right? It's not your fault because women are naturally conniving. Women are naturally seductive. They're going to run that game, right? That's normal, right? It's great if you can discern what's happening, but that's what's mostly available to us. And women are naturally good at this, right? That's part of their evolution to be able to hide that because it's not socially acceptable, right? It's, at least when you're talking about wifing a woman for the most part, right? Most of us with a sound mind wouldn't wife what they consider to be a 304, right? You have a lot of it's different in pop culture. You see celebrities doing that, and Kim Kardashian exists and all that. We dig that, but most people be like, "Oh hell no! Why did he wife her?" Right? You don't want that to be attached to your name, right? Especially your legacy. That's not what you want to have children with, and so forth. And it's disappointing, but you can't blame yourself because in certain cases, yes, you should have known better because the signs were there. But a lot of women are very cunning, right? A lot of women are very deceptive, and there's nothing you can do to discern it until you find out.
So let me bring it
Uh,
all together, right? And
go ahead.
taking away the sex aspect of it, as far as her misbehaving or you misbehaving. One thing that you said was, you don't want something attached to you. And this is where I
Mm-hmm.
think that we focus so much on trying to insert the differences between men and women that we get lost in translation. The same way you're saying you don't want a woman to embarrass you, make no mistake, women don't like being embarrassed, which is why we are very explosive when we are embarrassed. We don't like it. We lack control when we are embarrassed. So, the same way you're saying, I don't want other people approaching me about these negative connotations associated with my wife, a woman feels the exact same way. It's very embarrassing to try to hold your head high, to try to make it seem like, you have a husband who pedestalizes you. You have a husband who puts you before everybody and does all the right things, because you have to deal with that stigma. So I think a lot of times we steadily trying to shame, right, in areas of saying, well, women should feel bad about this, and men should, this is what makes a man. But in actuality, us being a reflection of each other, we're experiencing the same emotions. We're reacting the same way. Society is conditioning us to do the same things. So if we're not careful about this socialization of trying to have this shame, what we're seeing now is it's acceptable. And it don't look the way that you guys are trying to make it look anymore because women are saying the same thing. I don't want to embarrass a man who's full of community dick. He may have been community dick when I met him, but that should have been a cutoff. Going back to what Sweetie said, she wants you to control the sexual discipline for her ownership. And
Yeah,
y'all are
and
still
that's the difference. That's the
y'all are
difference
literally
too.
doing the same thing.
The stain of a woman, right? If she was ever a 304, she always is. Just put it in I'll put it like this. If a man, right, if you found out back in the day he was a pedo, right? There's nothing that he could say. There's nothing that he could do. You can't be like, oh, that was back in the day. No, it's different. Now he's a changed man. Once you know he has that on his resume, that homeboy was a whole pedo, you're not trying to hear nothing that he has to say. You want no involvement with that. And that's how men feel about women who had a promiscuous past. We don't want anything associated with that at all. That's how harmful it feels to us. We don't want that on your resume. You can't have that on your resume and me accept you. It doesn't matter if it was part of your past, but that can't be part of
But
my
that's
future.
exactly telling you women feel the same thing. We're just saying it in a different way. You guys are hearing it differently. We're saying my man being community dick is embarrassing. My man being a community dick is not acceptable. And it's harder for us to get that point across to you guys because you're saying, okay, well, women and men sex are different. And women are saying, well, not actually. We do the same things you do. You just choose to see it when you get ready.
Now we get that part, but the only thing you said, if you would have accepted it, because you said that it should have been a cutoff, right? So that would have been acceptable as is past. If you said there should have been a cutoff, and that's not what it should be right now. But what we're saying as men is that hell no. If you have that on your resume, period, it's just like me being a pedo and then trying to come to you. Once it's on my resume, it's a wrap. You ain't trying to talk to me at all, just because you know that I have that in me somewhere and you not going to take any chance to find out if it's ever going to resurface.
I hear you, and I'm gonna tell you the only reason why I don't agree is because as the person who is in single spaces, right? And I know you married, and we have a age gap. The conversation about what the guys accept today is a lot different. That's the only reason why I'm putting that small caveat in it. But everything else, I understand exactly where you're coming from.
Now I'll say this: there are some men who will accept that, and more so nowadays. But that number is not that great, even in the age gaps, because I talk to many men. I have some friends that are still in their 20s, right? I have friends that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s that I speak to regularly. So I'm pretty in the know when it comes to what men want in general, and it's pretty universal. If we have a choice, that is not what we want. Now, in certain cases, depending on what you are as a man and what you're willing to accept based on where you sit in the sexual marketplace, you may be willing to accept it. But if we have a choice for permanency, we would almost never choose that, right? That's just by and large. There are always going to be the exceptions, but by and large, men of all ages are going to say hell no to the 304.